The Dean Obeidallah Show is on live right here on SiriusXM Progress, channel 127.
And welcome to the show, brothers and sisters of the Resistance. Friday, October 5th, we're live the next 3 hours. I'm Dean Obeidallah on Twitter, at Dean Obeidallah, Facebook.com/Dean of Radio. You can watch a special live streaming going on because I'm joined by two special guests with me right here in studio. But before I say that, I want to ask you a question. Did you watch Susan Collins today? If you did you feel that sense of disgust and outrage and anger? Good. Hold on to it. Tap into it. Anytime you wonder if you should vote or work harder between now and Election Day, which is 32 days away, remember how you felt today. And I hope that inspires you to get out and vote because the stakes are so high. There's only one way to defeat this cancer. That's getting out on November 6th. Right now, though, I'm flanked by two great people from SiriusXM Progress. We have to my left Michelangelo Signorile, who just finished hosting his show. Michael, thanks for sticking around for a little bit.
Thank you, Dean. Great to be here.
And to my right, Mark Thompson, who sleeps in the studio when he's not doing his show. We woke him up, and he's here. Mark, how are you, buddy?
How are you, man? Thank you for having me.
So, gentlemen, I want to play one clip from Susan Collins' speech, and then I want to have your response. This clip to me is one of the angering ones because she's sort of pretending to care about standards and burdens of proof and Dr. Ford, and she had said, I'm not saying Dr. Ford wasn't attacked like she was, blah, blah, blah. Here's clip number one.
Fairness would dictate that the claims at least should meet a threshold of more likely than not as our standard. The facts presented do not mean that Professor Ford was not sexually assaulted that night or at some other time, but they do lead me to conclude that the allegations failed to meet the more likely than not standard. Therefore, I do not believe that these charges can fairly prevent Judge Kavanaugh from serving on the court.
So, Mark, what's your reaction? Now, I wanted to play that clip for people because it was one of the aggravating clips to me. What's your reaction overall?
She is, well, let me say this first of all. She bought into the argument that was made by the gentleman, I can't think of his name now, who tried to say that someone else raped.
Oh, Whalen.
Right. So Whalen had, even though he apologized and he said it was wrong, she's saying the same thing. Oh, we believe he was raped, but he wasn't raped by Kavanaugh. Who was she raped? Who was she raped by? And so she don't know which, which really is also misogynistic. That's Susan Collins as a woman, her internalized misogyny. That's like saying, well, somebody got you pregnant, but you don't know who the father is. Somebody raped you, but they just ran a train on you. You don't know which one it was who raped you. But I was hard on Susan earlier. I called her battle axe and everything for saying this. But I'm gonna go something. Susan Collins was gang raped today. McConnell, Cornyn, Orrin Hatch, all those no good Republicans forced her. They abused her power on behalf of Kavanaugh to make her do that. She is a victim herself as a woman because she does not feel she has the strength to stand up on her own. So she's a secondary victim of Brett Kavanaugh.
And Michael, what's your reaction? I know you just talked about it in your show, but what's your reaction?
Well, right there in that clip, again, as Mark said, she was trying to push this idea that Christine Blasey Ford was raped, but maybe by somebody else. But even among the people who have pushed that idea among conservative pundits and everything, I thought she showed so little compassion, even as a woman talking about this, that I just think the mask was off here of Susan Collins, the so-called moderate. And the one thing, she said there was nothing to corroborate. The one thing that Dr. Ford said that was crystal clear was she will never forget that it was Brett Kavanaugh. That is the thing that is in her mind so strong, and Mark Judge was there. And the four witnesses that were interviewed were not the witnesses that Dr. Ford's lawyers gave to the FBI. It's an FBI sham investigation. She had called for it. She was among those who called for it, but she obviously didn't really want an investigation. She wanted to be able to go up there and do this, as Mark says, for those men.
Right.
They put women in back of them,
Right.
other women senators, right? I was saying it was like The Handmaid's Tale.
It was.
You know, they were there to help ensure their bodies will be taken over by men and controlled by men when they overturn Roe v. Wade.
You know, to me, she could have simply voted for Brett Kavanaugh, but by going out there and making that speech, I agree with both of you. I think she became the GOP's female apologist for sexual assault.
That's right.
And gave them so that America sees these clips of, oh, wow, this mild-mannered, moderate woman, they call moderate, out there saying, hey, he's okay. And she went through a litany of things why he's okay. And I'm not sure how many people watch it. I don't know how many people's minds were moved by that. Mark, do you think it makes any difference to anyone out there who was still, I don't mean senators, Americans, undecided to see Susan Collins come out there as a woman and defend Brett Kavanaugh?
I think it makes difference. See, unfortunately, the way the country's so divided now, and if I could just put on my minister hat for a minute.
Sure.
Every story in the Old Testament where there is rape or sexual assault results in a civil war between the tribes of Israel, believe it or not.
Wow.
And the last story in the book of Judges, ironically, where the Levite submits his concubine to be gang raped. And so the Israelites and the Benjamites go into a civil war. That's where we are right now. So it was going to cut one of two ways. If she had said no and his nomination went down, Trump and them were going to run on in and mobilize that in November. You know, people talking about their numbers have gone up.
Right,
the mainstream
right.
media trying so hard not to be liberal, not that it ever was. Oh, look at their numbers going up. They never reported on our numbers.
And there's no data.
Right, and they've never bragged about our numbers. But now this confirms that our numbers will go up. But remember now, we said last week, I think we all agreed on this. They're willing to lose the House and the Senate.
Sure.
Because a lifetime appointment, you ain't got to worry about that in 2020 and 2022 and 2024. You got a lifetime devil on the court. And they were willing to go for that. And they made that deal with the devil, literally. And so I think it only helps us. It's going to hopefully wake up more women. Susan Collins, people ought to run against her. And I think consumers should boycott every performance, movie, television show that Susan Sarandon is in. Because I'm going to be honest with you.
I thought you were going to say boycott Maine.
I know. I didn't
no, but
Susan Sarandon. Are we going to go at Bernie and she didn't vote for Hillary? Are you going back there?
Yeah, because Susan Sarandon
Let's not relitigate that. Oh, my God.
No, I don't want to relitigate, but what I'm saying is that I agree with Madeleine Albright. She shouldn't apologize. There's a special place in hell now for Susan Collins for what she did.
Right.
And that for those who didn't vote for Hillary, they need to understand they voted for Kavanaugh when they didn't vote for Hillary. They helped confirm Kavanaugh. That was a vote for Kavanaugh.
And we are 32 days away from change that. I want to play another clip, and Michael, I'll have you respond. This is clip number 3. This is her. It starts out with Susan Collins saying, the people who know Kavanaugh best say he's a good guy. And then in the world of science fiction, she goes, and he's going to bring more credibility to the Supreme Court by being there. A guy who has no credibility, who's making the Supreme Court a laughingstock, a punchline.
Right.
And I want to play this because I'm just like, who wrote this garbage you're reading for us? Here's clip number 3, please.
We've heard a lot of charges and countercharges about Judge Kavanaugh. But as those who have known him best have attested, he has been an exemplary public servant, judge, teacher, coach, husband, and father. Despite the turbulent, bitter fights surrounding his nomination, my fervent hope is that Brett Kavanaugh will work to lessen the divisions in the Supreme Court so that we have far fewer 5-4 decisions, and so that public confidence in our judiciary and our highest court is restored.
How honestly, how detached from reality do you have to be to believe that Brett Kavanaugh being elevated to the Supreme Court is going to bring credibility to that court and lessen the partisan divide of that court?
She is in a bubble. She's totally in a bubble. She's removed from the public, and so are, Grassley and McConnell and all of them, and that we've seen by them suddenly realizing the public is out there protesting them and everything. She that was disastrous, I think, because you were asking Mark, will this change anything? I only think it changes things for us.
Okay.
She is saying the same things that pundits have been saying on TV, that whole thing about how, listen to the women in his life, and women, conservative women on TV who are defending, she's saying what Sarah Huckabee Sanders is saying. She's saying what Kellyanne Conway is saying. So I don't think it adds anything because she said it. And I think it only gives the progressives and the base and Democrats more to run on, it's more fuel, it's rocket fuel for us to hear that. I think they would have been smarter to simply have her vote.
Right.
And give a comment
so
in the hallway like every other
speech did more. I can watch people on Twitter going
what
crazy.
What were they hoping to do? Were they hoping that there were all these women that are gonna change their minds? Women are organizing in suburbs all across this country against Donald Trump. As Charlie Cook, one of the, the Cook report, the prognosticator said, in a week, this election is going to be back to being about Trump, not Kavanaugh.
Right,
yeah,
absolutely.
That's right.
Because he'll be confirmed. If he was not confirmed, it'd be different.
I mean, the way she described him, he's going to bring, what is she talking about? To bring balance to the court or to the fort.
He's the right of Kennedy.
She might as well say he's going to solve cancer. He's going to find a cure to Alzheimer's. She's just pulling stuff out of thin air. She didn't write that speech last night. All this make-believe, undecided.
Right.
That hour-long speech has been sitting in the can. Also, how can you condone an FBI investigation that didn't interview corroborative witnesses? So no, I think Mike is right. In the long run, I mean, they'll win the battle but lose the war. And let me just say this.
Go ahead.
And you all remember this. In 2008, the Republicans were completely vanquished as a party. The president at the time decided, well, I'm going to do Abraham Lincoln, and we're going to bring everybody together. And no, we have a multi-party democracy already within the Democratic Party. We don't need the Republican Party. But we have every constituency already in the Democratic Party. It's a bunch of little parties into one. And sometimes we can't all get along.
Sure.
So let's deal with our party as more representative of people, and the Republican Party as only being the party of white male privilege that exploits women like they did Susan Collins today.
But at the same time, in that very speech where she's saying, I'm supporting Brett Kavanaugh, she gave a little nod to the Me Too movement and how we have to help women. And I want to play this clip to me because this is the height of hypocrisy. So let's hear clip number 4.
Every person, man or woman, who makes a charge of sexual assault deserves to be heard and treated with respect. The Me Too movement is real. It matters. It is needed, and it is long overdue. We know that rape and sexual assault are less likely to be reported to the police than other forms of assault. On average, an estimated 211,000 rapes and sexual assaults go unreported every year. We must listen to survivors, and every day we must seek to stop the criminal behavior that has hurt so many.
We have to listen to survivors and then vote to elevate the person that abused them to the highest court in the land for a lifetime appointment. That, if you were just listening to that in a vacuum, you think, wow, she's probably voted against Brett Kavanaugh.
Well, again, a miscalculation. That was tacked on at the end, right? After she did her whole thing.
Google.
And if you were going to give the speech, I think it was stupid to give the speech at all, but if you were going to give the speech, it should have begun with that kind of talk and the compassion and the discussion about how this is very difficult, but I have to, in the end, do X, Y, and Z. Instead, she comes out guns blazing, attacking liberals, the Democrats, claiming what I thought was the most appalling part was when she claimed that there's all this dark money that's been spent to try to elect, to defeat Brett Kavanaugh, when in fact there's tens of millions of dollars more
all the commercial
dark money to elect Brett Kavanaugh, to put Brett Kavanaugh on the court.
When I heard that line, I'm like, you've got to be kidding. I'm joined here by Mark Thompson and Michelangelo Signorile. We're live right here. A reaction, the full team coverage to what's going to happen now, which is the confirmation. Progress Avengers. So
are.
speaking of Avengers, you guys have touched on this point here. The idea that this will animate us. And I just want to remind people, after 1991, Clarence Thomas, Anita Hill, that next election, 1992, just the next year, became the Year of the Woman, it was called. And that you had 47 women elected to the House, 24 new women. That was the largest number of women elected to the House in any single election, overwhelmingly Democrats. Where do you think this comes? Like, if they didn't confirm Brett Kavanaugh, Mark, who do you think that helps more in the midterms getting their base out? You think it would have helped them more?
Well, our base was already mobilized.
Right.
And I think that, victory would have continued us. It probably would have mobilized some of theirs. But see, they always have what they've always had. That's the conservative white males. They've got that on lock. Mm-hmm. The real vote that we're in competition for is women, suburban white women, all of that. And I think that in any case, suburban white women, those who were still holding out for him, who were still with him, and I think that's a very small number, was shifting to us anyway. So it's not like those suburban white men would have said, oh, we're going to go back to Trump now because Kavanaugh was not confirmed. I don't believe that.
And don't forget, they all watched Trump attack Christine Blasey Ford the other night, mocking her and attacking her and vilifying her. Absolutely.
So, and the gender gap in support for Kavanaugh is really stark. I mean, it's a huge divide between men and women overall. And white men and white women, there's a big divide there as well, especially college-educated white women. Over 60% believe Dr. Ford. Right. And that was pretty impressive. And I think those are the people who are going to support us.
And I think what we are seeing is, I think we'll see what happens in November, but I think we're seeing a wave that's growing that nobody is calculating. We've seen it in the primaries. Nobody thought Andrew Gillum in Florida was going to win the primary.
That's right.
African-American Tallahassee
I didn't
mayor,
think so.
Right?
He was on Mark's show like a couple days before. I'm like, no way.
Right, and because there's underpolling of the people who didn't vote before, we are bringing out the people who didn't vote before. They just have their deplorables.
When you see a spike see a spike in voter registration of over 1 million in Texas, it's not older white conservatives registering for the first time. Let's be honest, that's not what's happening. There could be some conservatives in there, but it tends to be people of color, younger people. Mark,
Beto's gonna win. Stacey's gonna win. Andrew's gonna win. Ben Jealous is gonna win. Lucy McBath, Jordan Davis's mother's gonna win. I mean, people in the 6th district in Georgia. Right. We can do this. It's gonna be a women's wave. They've already announced another big women's march in January. So this is really where it's at. We are going to win. But as I said, to them, it's worth it because a Supreme Court justice, as a listener of mine said, we need to stop saying lifetime, because that's not as impactful as the real word. A caller of mine said we need to start calling it what it is: forever.
It is forever. It's forever.
Forever.
So let me ask you before we go to break, and you guys can stay or not afterwards. Yet, while I feel this animation is outrage and incensed by it, there are some women on Twitter who were tweeting to me today that I'm demoralized. This is breaking my heart what I'm seeing. Others saying I'm outraged. What do you say, and both of you, what do you say to those people out there who are progressives or even independent women who are like, oh my God, we can't win? They've gone backwards. Clarence Thomas was accused of sexual harassment. Now we have a guy accused of sexual assault 27 years later, and they're elevating him. We're going backwards as a country. Mm-hmm. What do you say to these women and men out there who might be losing hope? And it's something I deal with all the time. I don't want them to lose hope.
First of all, people have been dealing with sexual assault and sexual abuse for many, many years. And Anita Hill kind of put it on the radar, right, in a particular moment in time. And even though this played out the way it did right now, we've come a long way from then. The fact that this even got as far as it did, I think, is a testament to that. The fact that women have been, just in the Me Too movement, literally just the last 2 years, year and a half before this, right, coming forward, and men have been admitting to what they're doing and stepping down, I think shows there's been enormous progress. But there's a backlash. There's always a backlash, right, to everything, whether it's marriage equality, whether it's, women standing up and speaking out. And so that's what this is. Right. And I say to people, there will be a backlash. Be ready for it. Yes, take that moment and kind of get yourself together, but you got to get back out and fight. You got to fight.
And what do you say, Mark, to get people?
Let me answer this way. The price of freedom is eternal vigilance. Bette Midler got in trouble last night for an unfortunate tweet she made. She said, women are the N-word of the world. And it wasn't all her fault, because that was actually a song by John Lennon and Yoko Ono. They got in trouble when they said it. Well, while people were offended by it, if that were true, people wouldn't be demoralized and give up so easy. It took African Americans on paper in this country 200 years to end chattel slavery. 400 years if you count those who were brought to South America and the Caribbean before they got to the United States in 1400.
Sure.
So that is what Frederick Douglass called eternal vigilance. So, everybody needs to understand it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to may not happen next year, but 2018 in November is a start, and we cannot give up. We cannot get comfortable. Justice is an ongoing battle. It's not, okay, we got it, and then we're going to go home and go to sleep. That's true for the African-American community. It's true for women. It's true for Muslims. It's true for LGBTQIAs. It's true for the working class. We have got to, and the poor, it is true for all of us. We cannot rest. Our activism has to be on Election Day and every other 364 days of the year.
I agree. Wait, before you guys go, can I get you to chime in on one call to give me a lesson here?
I'm good. I don't know what
Mike's
time is.
I know Mike's, hang on.
I know Mike has a social life. You got to go.
Al from New Jersey, you there?
I'm here.
All right, so you're conservative. Good. I got Mark and Mike here to help. I'm going to just watch this as a lab experiment. Go ahead, Al. No, seriously, go ahead.
Al don't want to talk to me.
Yeah, I've never seen such nonsense in my whole life. That woman didn't say one thing that can be proven. She slandered him so badly, he may never recover. People are always going to have that in their head that he did these things, and it's not true.
Yeah, so how come Al he didn't want to clear himself?
He did clear himself.
Yeah, you're right. Every time his daughter Googles her name, rapist is going to come up. That's a terrible thing to do to your child. So why not take a polygraph test? And why not take a polygraph test and ask the FBI, demand the FBI speak with you? Not say I'm ready to cooperate. Demand that you be part of the FBI investigation.
Why do you people
and
always get it so
clear your name for your daughter. He treated his daughter and his wife, his children, terribly by not clearing his name. Forever, he will be the Supreme Court justice who's a rapist.
And that's why he should have withdrawn out of concern for his family. Because this is going to be a terrible stain on those shows. They have to live with that. They'll always have to wonder whether their father is a rapist. And so if he was concerned about his daughters and his family, he should have withdrawn, Al.
No, all these you people need to apply.
What do you mean by you? Who are you calling you people?
You mean the Muslim, the black guy, or the gay guy? Who's the you people?
A Muslim, a black, and a gay. White power.
Let me finish. Why don't you shut up? Let me finish.
Are you going to tell me to shut up, Al? You going to tell me to shut up?
Come on, give him a devil.
That woman, her mother and father had their house foreclosed on in 1990.
No, they didn't.
There's another lie.
That's not true. That's not true.
A lie.
You've been watching the Fox News too much.
Al, you and your kind, since you want to say you people, you
right.
with
My kind applies common sense.
Your kind implies racism, sexism, white male privilege, and white supremacy, and you're coming to an end. That's why you're calling. That's why you're threatening.
That's a conspiracy.
You're
pushing
white power.
You're pushing a conspiracy that's been disproven.
White power.
His mother never foreclosed on their home. In fact, his mother made sure that that on her parents' home. In fact, his mother made sure his parents stayed in the home. Her parents stayed in the home. So you got that wrong, Al. You got a lot of conspiracies, I'm sure.
No. There's no truth in what you're saying. I watched the whole thing, okay?
Okay.
They praised that woman up and down, and she didn't come out with one truthful statement. I think she's
you don't
a liar.
know. But what are you talking? You are a rape apologist. You probably raped somebody yourself. You are a rape apologist.
Why is Trump always right?
Always right? In what world is he always right, my friend?
Look at how well the
rape
country's
apologist.
doing right now.
He inherited a great economy from President Obama. You should kiss Obama's feet. He inherited a fabulous economy.
Obama was president. Nothing good happened.
Baseball,
nothing good happened?
I know, because he was black, right?
He brought the economy back.
No, he was not qualified to be president.
Because why?
He wasn't a
wait. Why wasn't he qualified? Why wasn't he qualified? Because he wasn't a citizen, right? Hold it. Are you saying he wasn't qualified because he wasn't a citizen?
Right. I'm saying he wasn't qualified. He never even had
Do you believe Barack Obama was a citizen of the United States?
Obama was a waste. We wasted.
Was Barack Obama a citizen of the United States?
Never convince me otherwise. I watched TV.
No. I'm asking you a question, diarrhea of the mouth. Was Barack Obama a citizen of the United States? Yes or no?
They say he was. I never,
Oh yeah. Okay.
All right, well then that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. You
All right.
gang up on
Yeah,
these
yeah,
clowns.
That's it.
White power.
All right,
Wow, that's
all
how you
right,
do
all
it. All right, that was a good learning lesson for me here. So don't let them talk. Because I'm like, I just talk. I'm like, all right, well,
Oh,
that's
you
not
know,
right.
I jumped right in on that
Right,
one.
but that was well. The conspiracy. All right, let's take a break. Mark might stay. Michael's been here for 3 hours. I understand, Michael. So let's take a break.
I've
Come
been
back.
here for 12 hours.
This is where you go, though. This
Great
is the kind
to be
you
here
love
with
it
you
here.
I was
guys.
on my
Thank
way
you
out
very
of
much.
here.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
my friend, for staying. Well, we'll take a quick break. Come back. Mark Thompson's going to stick around.